Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how you can print numbers from 1 to 10 using a recursive function. So this is just the basics or the introduction to a recursive function. Okay, and hopefully it's going to be very easy for you to understand, and after this you're not going to struggle with any type of recursive functions. Now let's start with the basics. I have a function right over here. Okay, it's parameterized function. The parameter is n. Now if I make it recursive, then what I'm doing is that I'm calling this same function, okay, I'm calling it within itself, okay, and since it has a parameter n, I'm going to pass in n. Now here's the thing, when you do such a thing, then it's going to make it an infinite loop. It's going to loop infinite iterations. So this is a recursive function when you call a function within itself, the same function, okay, not when you call another function in some other function. You have to call the same function inside of itself. Now to avoid an infinite loop, what we usually do is we use an if statement to check. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to check if n is equal to 0, because the thing is that n is a number and we want to print from 1 to 10. Okay, so the way to do this, it would be if I'm going to decrement n all the time. So to decrement it, I'm going to put a -1. I'm going to always call this function, and whenever I'm calling this function, each time I call it, I'm going to pass in a value that is 1 less than n in each time I call the function. So just forgot my semicolon. Now eventually when I'm calling this function, like in the first iteration, you're going to see that it's going to be like this. Okay, n is going to be, say for example, I pass in n of 3, so n is going to be 3. Then it's going to check if n is equal to 0. It's not 0, so it's going to continue. Okay, and by the way, if it is 0, we want it to end the function, return, and return nothing because it's void. So return will just end the function. So first iteration, n is equal to 3, then it checks here, this condition is false, so it comes on to this line, and now it calls itself again. And down here I'm going to do this, I'm going to see out n, and I'm going to just put a line break. So first iteration, skip this line, and then it comes into this line. Now once it reaches over here into this line, it's not going to pass in here, it's going to call itself again. So this function, by the way, is still running. So the functions that are still running, I'm going to put a dash next to them. So the function where n was 3 is still running, but it called itself, so now it made another copy and it's calling itself. Now n is 2, so we passed in n is 2, so then it called itself, and we can see it checks this line, is n equal to 0? No, n is equal to 2, so skip this line, the condition is false. Then it comes over here, and now within this second copy, it's going to call and make a third copy. So now it's gonna, once it calls the third copy, it's gonna make n equal to 1. So because this is also not finished, I'm going to put a dash next to it. Then n is equal to 1, fine. Then it calls itself again, and now n is 1. Then it's going to see n is equal to 0, right? And please take note that we are still at this line, we haven't touched this line yet, because the function is calling itself again and again. So now n is equal to 1, so we see n is equal to 0. No, it's not equal to 0. So then it goes to the next line and it calls itself again. So this makes another copy, and now n is equal to 0. So you can see that it's keep on calling itself, and now once we pass in n equal to 0, then you're going to see if n is equal to 0, that's true, so it's going to return, meaning that it's not going to go on to the next lines, it's going to stop, and we're not going to put a dash because the function has ended here. So n is 0 now. But here's the thing, it's gonna go to the previous copy. Okay, so now we are in the copy where n was equal to 1, so we were at this line there, then this line has ended executing, so now we're at this line, cout n. Perfect. So cout n is going to be 1, so it's gonna output 1. So I'm gonna put here my outputs. Output, this is gonna be my output, right? It's gonna be like this. N will be outputted as 1, then the function has ended, so it's gonna now return nothing, and it's gonna go to the previous iteration. So this function is done and it's couted 1. Then it's gonna come to the previous one, the previous copy, which, remember, we put a dash here because it wasn't done, like it was still busy, it wasn't completely done executing. We were at this line, even up here on the 3 we are at this line. So now we come over here to the copy where n was equal to 2, and we see out that. So n is equal to 2, see out n. Now n is equal to 2. Then this is also done executing. Then it goes to the previous copy again, and we can see now n is equal to 3. So it has done executing this line where it made n equal to 2. Now it comes over here and n is 3 in this case, so it's going to see out n is 3, and then it's going to end this also. So this is going to be the output. Let's just give it a shot. Okay, I'm going to call this function right over here, and I'm going to pass in 3. Okay, let me save it, and I'm just going to run it. So how do we run it? Say gpp try. Alright, so now you can see once I run it, it's going to give us this as the output, 1 2 3, exactly how we want it. I can even print a 10 out here, or maybe a 30. Let's make a 30. So actually let's make it 1 to 10. Don't want it to be like that. So 1 to 10. Now we can see once I compile it and once I execute it, it's going to print 1 to 10. So that's how you can print 1 to 10 without using a for loop, using functions only. Now here's the catch. The question is, what's going to happen if I make cout before I call the function? So you let me know the output of that if I print out 3. Okay, you tell me in the comments how that's going to change the output. Thanks for watching.